Scene script. Have you ever wondered why we celebrate Christmas? The story begins over 2,000 years ago with a young woman named Mary and her husband Joseph. They were simple, humble people, living in a time and place far removed from the comforts and conveniences we know today. Their world was about to change in a remarkable way, and their journey to the town of Bethlehem is one that millions of people remember every year at Christmas. Their trip wasn't easy. Imagine traveling for days on end, over rugged hills and through cold nights, all while expecting a baby. When they finally reached the town, they found it bustling with people. Everyone was there to pay their taxes, just like Mary and Joseph. The town was so full, in fact, that there was no room for them at the inn. But Mary was about to give birth and they needed a place to stay. So in the end, they found shelter in a stable, a simple place where animals were kept. It was here among the hay and the animals that Mary gave birth to a baby boy. They named him Jesus. As the newborn Jesus lay in a manger, something extraordinary happened. Shepherds tending their flocks nearby were visited by angels who brought them the good news of Jesus' birth. Guided by their faith, these humble shepherds were the first to visit and worship the baby Jesus. Meanwhile, far away, a star shone brightly in the sky. This star was a sign leading 3 wise men on a journey to find the newborn king. They followed the star all the way to Bethlehem, bringing with them gifts of gold, frankincense, and myrrh to honor Jesus. So, you see, Christmas is a celebration of this incredible event. It's a time to remember Mary and Joseph's journey, the birth of Jesus in a humble stable, the shepherd's visit, and the 3 wise men guided by a star. It's a story of hope and faith, of humble beginnings and divine miracles. And that's why we celebrate Christmas, to remember the humble but miraculous birth of Jesus. Have you ever been caught in the rain and wished for a giant umbrella? Imagine instead a colossal boat built by a man named Noah. In a time long, long ago, God saw that the world was filled with wickedness and decided to cleanse the earth with a great flood. But Noah, he was a good man, a beacon of hope amidst the chaos. God gave him a divine task, to build an ark, a massive boat, and fill it with pairs of every living creature. Under the guidance of God, Noah crafted the ark with unwavering obedience. Picture Noah, his sons and their wives, tirelessly working day in and day out, crafting this enormous vessel, not knowing when the rain would come. They followed God's instructions to the letter, down to the last cubit. And then came the animals in 2s, a male and a female of each kind. Lions, elephants, birds, butterflies, all creatures great and small, they all found their way to Noah's ark. It was a sight to behold, a testament to the wonder of life in all its diversity. Then the heavens opened up, and the earth was drenched in 40 days and 40 nights of rain. The lands disappeared, mountains were submerged, and the world was a vast, endless ocean. But Noah's ark, it floated atop these tumultuous waters, a solitary sanctuary amidst the storm. Inside the ark, Noah, his family, and all the animals remained patient and hopeful. They waited for the rain to stop, for the waters to recede, for life to begin anew. It was a test of their faith, their endurance, and their belief in God's promise. And when the rain finally ceased, a rainbow arched across the sky, a sign from God, a promise that he would never again flood the earth. Noah and his family stepped onto dry land once more, their hearts brimming with gratitude and faith. And that's how Noah and his family survived a great flood, promising to never lose faith in God. Did you ever help someone you didn't know, or maybe someone helped you? Let's delve into a story that teaches us about the beautiful act of kindness shown by a stranger. We are traveling back in time to the land of the Bible, where a man was journeying down a treacherous road from Jerusalem to Jericho. Our traveler unfortunately fell into the wrong hands. Robbers struck, leaving him beaten and bruised on the roadside. Now imagine his hope when 2 figures appeared on the horizon. But these figures, a priest and a Levite, chose to walk on the other side of the road, ignoring the man's plight. His hope diminished, replaced by despair. But then, a 3rd figure appeared, a Samaritan, someone from a group often looked down upon by the people of that time. But this Samaritan didn't ignore the hurt man. He didn't cross to the other side of the road. Instead, he approached the man, tending to his wounds with oil and wine. He then placed the man on his own donkey, took him to an inn, and cared for him. The next day, the Samaritan had to leave, but he didn't leave the man alone. He gave the innkeeper 2 silver coins and asked him to look after the man, and he promised to pay any extra costs when he returned. This Samaritan, a stranger, showed immense kindness to another stranger. He didn't consider the man's origin or status, but saw him as a fellow human in need. His actions teach us a valuable lesson, that we should show kindness to everyone, regardless of who they are or where they come from. We may not always be in a position to physically help someone as the Good Samaritan did, but we can always lend an ear, share a smile, or offer words of encouragement. Each act of kindness, no matter how small, can make a big difference. And that's what makes someone a Good Samaritan, showing kindness to everyone, no matter who they are. Have you ever wondered why we celebrate Easter? It's not just about chocolate bunnies and egg hunts, though they are certainly fun traditions. At the heart of Easter is a story of sacrifice and miracle, a story that has been shared for over 2,000 years. This tale is about a man named Jesus who lived a life of love, kindness, and compassion. But this story takes a somber turn when Jesus is crucified. It was a time of deep sadness for his followers. They had lost their teacher, their friend, their source of hope. They mourned as they watched Jesus, a man who had committed no crime, endure such suffering. But why would Jesus, a person of such goodness, make such a sacrifice? Why would he willingly walk into a situation he knew would lead to his death? The answer lies in his love for humanity. Jesus believed that his sacrifice would serve a greater purpose. He believed it would open the doors to forgiveness and pave the way to eternal life for all. This sacrifice, as immense as it was, is only half of the Easter story. After 3 days, something miraculous happened. The tomb where Jesus was laid was found empty. He had risen from the dead. Can you imagine the joy of his followers when they saw him alive again? Their sorrow turned into celebration, their despair into hope. The resurrection of Jesus was a miracle that brought new life not just to him, but also to his followers. It was a sign that death is not the end, but a transition to a new beginning. And it was a message of hope, a promise that love and good can triumph over evil and death. What does this mean for us today? The sacrifice and resurrection of Jesus remind us of the power of love, forgiveness, and hope. They remind us that we too can overcome our struggles, our fears, and our mistakes. They remind us that we are not alone in our journey, that there is a loving presence watching over us, guiding us, and offering us a second chance. The Easter story is not just a tale from the past. It's a story that continues to live in our hearts. It's a story that inspires us to be kind, to forgive, to love, and to hope. It's a story that encourages us to rise above our challenges and to believe in the possibility of new beginnings. And that's why we celebrate Easter, to remember the great sacrifice and miraculous resurrection of Jesus. So, as we enjoy our chocolate eggs and Easter bunnies, let's also take a moment to reflect on this story of love and miracle that's at the heart of our celebration. Let's remember the sacrifice, embrace the hope, and carry the spirit of Easter in our hearts, not just on this day, but every day. Have you ever been on a long journey feeling scared but also hopeful? Imagine a time long, long ago when the Israelites were held captive in Egypt. They were longing for freedom, yearning for a place to call their own. They toiled day in and day out, their spirits weighed down by the heavy chains of oppression. Then, out of their despair, there emerged a beacon of hope, a man named Moses. Moses was not a warrior or a king, but a humble shepherd. Yet he was chosen by God to lead the Israelites on a journey to freedom. With courage in his heart and faith in his soul, Moses confronted the mighty Pharaoh. He demanded, "Let my people go." But Pharaoh's heart was hardened and he refused. It was then that God sent down a series of plagues, each more terrible than the last, until at last, Pharaoh relented. And so the Israelites began their journey. They ventured into the harsh wilderness, guided by a pillar of cloud by day and a pillar of fire by night. They had little more than their faith to sustain them, but it was enough. It had to be. Then came a moment that would forever be etched in their memories. With the Egyptian army closing in, the Israelites found themselves trapped by the Red Sea. Fear and panic swept through them. But Moses, ever steadfast, raised his staff, and something miraculous happened. The Red Sea parted, creating a path for the Israelites to cross. As they stepped onto the dry ground, they could hardly believe their eyes. They walked through the sea, the towering walls of water held back as if by an invisible hand. Once they had all safely crossed, the waters crashed back together, swallowing up the pursuing Egyptian army. The journey was far from over. There were trials and tribulations, moments of doubt and despair. But through it all, the Israelites never lost their faith. They held on to the promise of a land flowing with milk and honey, a place where they could be free. After 40 long years, their journey came to an end. They stood at the edge of the promised land, their hearts filled with joy and gratitude. They had faced unimaginable hardships, but they had also witnessed extraordinary miracles. And that's how the Israelites found their freedom, reminding us that sometimes the hardest journeys lead to the greatest rewards. So, what can we learn from these stories? Each of these tales, like a gem, holds a precious lesson that we can carry with us. From the birth of Jesus, we learn the virtue of humility and the wonder of miracles. Even in the humblest of circumstances, in a stable under a star, greatness was born. This story teaches us that no matter where we come from, we all have the potential for greatness within us. Next, we journeyed with Noah on his ark. Amidst the rain and the storm, Noah's story teaches us about faith and patience. Even when the skies were dark and the future uncertain, Noah trusted in his faith, patiently waiting for brighter days. His story reminds us that even in difficult times, we must hold on to our faith and believe in the promise of better days. The tale of the Good Samaritan showed us the true meaning of kindness. He was a stranger, yet he stopped to help a man in need, even when others passed by. His story teaches us that kindness is not limited to those we know and love, but extends to all of humanity. In the story of the Crucifixion and Resurrection, we learned about sacrifice and the power of resurrection. Jesus sacrificed himself for the good of others, and in doing so, demonstrated the ultimate act of love. His resurrection teaches us that there is life after hardship and hope in the face of despair. Finally, the Exodus story showed us the power of courage and hope. Moses led his people to freedom, standing up against oppression and fear. His story teaches us that with courage and hope, we can overcome any obstacle and find our way to freedom. Remember, each of these stories teaches us something important about kindness, faith, hope, and love. Keep these lessons in your heart as you grow. Did you enjoy these stories? I hope so, because they have so much to teach us. Each tale we've shared today, from the birth of Jesus to the journey of the Good Samaritan, from Noah's voyage to the resurrection of Christ, and the exodus of the Israelites, holds valuable lessons that we can carry into our everyday lives. These stories aren't just tales from a time long past. They're timeless narratives that depict the virtues of kindness, faith, resilience, and the power of miracles. They remind us of the importance of helping others, even when it's not convenient for us, just like the Good Samaritan. They show us that faith can lead to incredible miracles, as seen in the story of the birth of Jesus and the resurrection. They demonstrate that resilience in the face of adversity, like Noah's during the flood and the Israelites during the Exodus, can lead us to safety and freedom. But these stories aren't meant to be kept to ourselves. They're meant to be shared. They're meant to be told and retold, passed down from generation to generation. So I encourage you to share these stories. Share them with your friends, your family, your neighbors, anyone who is willing to listen. And as you share, remember to also apply the lessons you've learned. Be kind, be brave, and keep your faith, just like the characters in these stories. And don't stop here. There are countless more stories in the Bible waiting to be discovered, stories that can inspire us, challenge us, and teach us. Stories that can make us laugh, make us cry, and make us think. So I invite you to explore. Dive into the pages of the Bible, let your curiosity guide you, and uncover these hidden treasures. Just think about it. Each story is like a seed. When we listen to it, we plant that seed within us. When we share it, we plant that seed in others. And when we live by the lessons we've learned, we help that seed to grow into a beautiful tree of wisdom and virtue. Isn't that a wonderful thought? So let's make a promise to ourselves. Let's promise to keep these stories alive. Let's promise to share them, to learn from them, and to live by them. Because in doing so, we're not just keeping these tales alive, we're also keeping alive the virtues they represent. Kindness, faith, bravery, resilience. These are the seeds we're planting, the trees we're growing. And as we journey through life, let these stories be our guide. Let them remind us of the path of righteousness when we're lost. Let them give us hope when times are tough. Let them inspire us to be the best we can be. Because at the end of the day, that's what these stories are all about. They're about guiding us, inspiring us, and helping us to grow. Remember, every story has a lesson, so keep listening, keep sharing, and keep learning. Until next time, stay kind, stay faithful, and stay curious.